I don't have a guest this week, and I am going to be talking about Ryan Holiday's new book called Ego is the Enemy. I have a summary here. Um, Many of us insist the main impediment to a full, successful life is the outside world. In fact, the most common enemy lies within our ego. Early in our careers, it impedes learning and the cultivation of talent. With success, it can blind us to our faults and sow future problems. In failure, it magnifies each blow and makes recovery more difficult. At every stage, ego holds us back. Ego is the Enemy draws on a vast array of stories and examples, from literature to philosophy to history. We meet fascinating figures such as George Marshall, Jackie Robinson, and Katharine Graham, Bill Belichick, and Eleanor Roosevelt, who all reached the highest levels of power and success by conquering their own egos. Their strategies and tactics can be ours as well. A quote by Michael Abrashoff from a book called It's Your Ship, Management Techniques from the Best Damn Ship in the Navy, also talks about ego. It says, leaders must free their subordinates to fulfill their talents to the utmost. However, most obstacles that limit people's potential are set in motion by the leader and are rooted in his or her own fears, ego needs, and unproductive habits. When leaders explore deep within their thoughts and feelings in order to understand themselves, a transformation can take shape. I will be reading an excerpt from Ego is the Enemy book that gives a preface to what all of this is about. And I think it's very, very important in today's society that we really take a hard look at ourselves, that what are we really aspire to be, and then dig in and do it. I think what Ryan is trying to say is that with all of the social media and technology and all of the access, and that we never dig in our heels and really get to the point, get to what we want to do. So, okay, so the first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Richard Feynman. Maybe you're young and brimming with ambition. Maybe you're young and you're struggling. Maybe you've made the first couple million, signed your first deal, been selected to some elite group, or maybe you're already accomplished enough to last a lifetime. Maybe you're stunned to find out how empty it is at the top. Maybe you're charged with leading others through a crisis. Maybe you just got fired. Maybe you hit rock bottom. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, your worst enemy already lives inside you, your ego. Not me, you think. No one would ever call me an egomaniac. Perhaps you've always thought of yourself as a pretty balanced person, but for most people with ambitions, talents, drives, and potential to fulfill, ego comes with the territory. Precisely what makes us so promising as thinkers, doers, creatives, and entrepreneurs. What drives us to the top of our fields makes us vulnerable to the darker side of this psyche. Now, this is not a book about ego in the Freudian sense. Freud was fond of explaining the ego by way of analogy. Our ego was the rider on the horse, with our unconscious drives representing the animal, while the ego tries to direct them. Modern psychologists, on the other hand, use the word egotist to refer to someone dangerously focused on themselves with disregard for anyone else. All these definitions are true, but of little value outside a clinical setting. The ego we most commonly goes by a more casual definition, an unhealthy belief in our own importance. Bingo, 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 bingo. Arrogance, self-centered ambition. It's the petulant child inside every person, the one that chooses getting his or her way over everything else. The need to be better than, more than, recognized for, far past any reasonable utility. That's ego. It's that sense of superiority and certainty that exceeds the bounds of confidence and talent. Ego is the enemy of what you want and what you have, of mastering a craft, of real creative insight, of working well with others, of building loyalty and support, of longevity, of repeating and retaining your success. It repulses advantages and opportunities. It's a magnet for enemies and errors. Most of us aren't egomaniacs, but ego is there at the root of almost every conceivable problem and obstacle, from why we can't win to why we need to win all the time and at the expense of others, from why we don't have what we want to why having what we want doesn't seem to make us feel any better. We don't usually see it this way. We think something else is to blame for our problems, most often other people. We are, as poet Lucretius put it a few thousand years ago, the proverbial sick man, ignorant of the cause of his malady. Especially for successful people who can't see what ego prevents them from doing because all they can see is what they've already done. With every ambition and goal we have, big or small, ego is there undermining us on the very journey we've put everything into pursuing. The ways the separation manifests itself negatively are immense. We can't work with other people if we put up walls. We can't improve the world if we don't understand it or ourselves. We can't take or receive feedback if we are incapable of or uninterested in hearing from outside sources. We can't recognize opportunities or create them. If instead of seeing what is in front of us, we live inside our own fantasy, without an accurate accounting of our own abilities compared to others, what we have is not confidence, but delusion. How are we supposed to reach, motivate, or lead other people if we can't relate to their needs because we've lost touch with our own? The performance artist Marna Abramovic puts it directly. If you start believing in your own greatness, it's the death of your creativity. Just one thing keeps ego around: comfort. Pursuing great work, whether it's in sports or art or business, is often terrifying. Ego soothes that fear. It's a salve to that insecurity, replacing the relational and aware parts of our own psyche with bluster and self-absorption. Ego tells us what we want to hear, when we want to hear it, but it's a short-term fix with long-term consequence. Amazing, right? I mean, that is the introduction to Ego is the Enemy from Ryan Holiday. I am going to link up resources in the show notes, and I hope that you enjoyed this. And I think it's important to really think about the fact that everything isn't about being famous or successful. It's really about pursuing your craft and being in mastery of something and not running towards the shiny thing because it's really attractive and because most likely going to distract you from what you're pursuing, what you are going for. Also, this book talks about serving others and being an apprentice and really just being able to be satisfied with where you are. Ryan wrote another book called Obstacles the Way, and this talks about how really tragic, horrible events in your life can build up this tenacity. Once you get over that, you're so much stronger and you're really tough, and you'll be able to run through walls basically to go after what you want. So I hope this was enjoyable for you, and I will link up some of Ryan Holiday's work. He is a fabulous philosopher, thinker, and talks in an unconventional way that I really resonate with. So I hope you had a good week, and let me know if you have any recommendations or feedback. I really love to hear it. Bye.